I don't wanna waste your time. I wanna take you to a place of mine and maybe talk about the universe. Or maybe we can watch some television. I'm hella with it. Just let me know I'm available. I know you got a schedule, probably on the grind. I just think that you incredible, baby. You know you fine. West Coast. I don't wanna waste your time. I wanna take you to a place of mine and roll another, bring some music. We can drink some wine. And when we wake up in the morning, we can press rewind and talk about it if you want to. Baby, it's all on you.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Michelle Taylor Willis here, and welcome to Black is the New Green. I am your host, like I just said, Michelle Taylor Willis, and it's Women's History Month. I'm so excited. We just finished Black History Month, and we are celebrating all month Women's History Month, and we're only interviewing Black female founders. So I'm very excited about that. You guys know that we are here dedicated to shining the spotlight on Black entrepreneurs and the amazing achievements of our community. And so I'm super excited to have our guest today and absolutely thankful for our live audience. We're an original show developed for radivision.com. This is where you can check out an entire universe of programming built just for entrepreneurs in the startup and entrepreneurial world. So whether you're starting a brand new business, you're just getting started, or you need the support, or you've been in the game a while and you still need the support, we are the network for you. We're a support system, and we are built as the network for startups and visionaries. All right. We want to give you inspiring stories, profiles of founders who've made it big, but also founders who are just like you, who want to build incredible companies and write the scripts for our business future. So having said that, today's guest, OMG. If I could do this as a text, it'd be like OMG. She's amazing, just incredible. I can't wait for you guys to join in on the conversation with my guest today, Kendra Bracken Ferguson, who is the founder of Brain Trust. She's a podcast host. She's a visionary. She's got 20 years in the startup and funding and building space, but she is super niched right now, which I love. As an advertising professional, I love to see very niched markets. She's super niched and paving the way for Black females, specifically in the beauty and wellness industry. And as we'll learn in a couple of minutes, she's doing that with some pretty amazing people. So guys, welcome to the show, Kendra Bracken Ferguson. Hey, Kendra.
Hi. Oh my gosh, Michelle, thank you for having me, for spotlighting the work. I love the show. It is an honor to join you. The topics, I mean, it's so important what you're talking about and shedding light on. So I'm just honored to be here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you like the show. I hope you've told all of your friends about it. I do know you told all of your Instagram friends because I saw the post.
LinkedIn, Twitter, we're going everywhere. I just need to hit TikTok and then we'll be good.
There you go. That will be good. Yeah, we have to make a TikTok of this show, right? But I'm excited to have you. And let me tell you something. I love my job because I get to interview so many amazing people and have conversations, really. And so I want to start real quick because I want people to understand what Brain Trust is. I want to spend a lot of time really talking about the Founders Studio, but I want them to understand what Brain Trust is and how you kind of landed here so that we can set the stage and get some context for how you actually ended up where you are, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes total sense. It's so funny because in every job, every business I've created, I'm a 3-time founder. I always enjoy thinking about the journey and what I've learned. And so for me, it's funny because I'm one of those people that in 6th grade, I was watching TV with my mom and the president was giving a speech and someone handed him a piece of paper. And I said, oh my gosh, who is that? Who is that person? I want to be that person. And my mom said, that's the press secretary. And from that moment on, I was like, I want to do PR. I want to go to school for PR. And I ended up, yes, I was one of the rare people and I stuck with it, and I went to Purdue University, studied public relations, had the divine fortune of getting an internship. I said, I only want to intern at one of the top 5 PR agencies in the world. Did that at Fleishman Hillard and ended up being offered a job in New York. Post-graduation, I had to be in New York within 2 weeks to take this job.
Wow.
And it's because I was actually working at the Indiana Pacers, and I had won a scholarship to get my master's in sports administration. And I was like, no, this is my dream. It's PR. And
Yeah.
within 2 weeks, I moved to New York. I lived with the nuns in nuns housing because I didn't know anyone there, and I didn't
Did
have
you
means.
really?
Yes, girl, I had to do everything. My parents were super supportive, but we didn't have relatives in New York with a condo. We couldn't
Right.
just tear down for me to stay in a hotel. And I researched and I found housing for professional young women who needed a place. And I, within 2 weeks, was in New York and set out on my journey. And it's funny because when I was at Fleischman, I helped build the digital practice group. I did so many amazing things where I was actually an entrepreneur, which I like to say I have the mindset of an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
Because
I love it.
right, I didn't realize that what I was building for another company was setting me on my path to
That's
be
right.
an entrepreneur. And
Yes.
I was doing the
Yes.
work and I was passionate. And from there, I was recruited to go to Ralph Lauren, first director of digital media. And so I really launched the brand across all of these social platforms and was at the helm and the cusp as David Lauren was creating merchantainment, the combining of entertainment with e-commerce and a website. And so I really had this kind of front row seat to working for a founder. My office was outside of Ralph Lauren's office, and
Are
we
you
had
serious?
David. And yes, and the my heart and passion for founders in their business really peaked during that time to see the family, the intensity. Ralph went to work every day. So this was very much a working founder. And I had an amazing time. And I also had to learn how do you monetize social media? So I'd have to sit with the CFO and say, here's how much we're making on Facebook. But then I'd have to sit with the marketing team and talk about, at the time, bloggers and content and Facebook posts. And I'd go to the Olympics and I'd be posting at the same time, looking at revenue, looking at Google Analytics. So it was an amazing time. And it was there that I met my first business partner, Karen Rabinovitz. We knew each other for all of 2 or 3 months. I literally had been thinking about her. I texted her on Saturday morning. She called me back immediately. And I said, I have an idea to manage bloggers. And she said, me too. And I have a name, Digital Brand Architects. And we literally put up a website that day, got our husbands together the next day for brunch, filed an LLC on Monday. And I went to David, Lauren, and Julie Berman, and I said, we're going to manage bloggers. And that was the start of my entrepreneurial journey. And again, it ties back to when I was at Ralph, I helped launch them on social. So again, an entrepreneur, the first director of digital media, building something. And that again was the stepping stone to being an entrepreneur with our first business, Digital Brand Architects. In 2010, one of the first agencies to manage bloggers as talent. So again, this notion of brand building, of
bloggers as talent.
Bloggers as talent. And we know now, when we think about influencers, we think about content creators. We were in the early days, but we were still showing how they were the future voice of brands and consumerism. And so I think back on that time and fast forward, that was my first time raising money. So we raised money for DBA. And literally I started kind of thinking, what do I want to do? And I think that it's important in business as entrepreneurs, founders, that we allow ourselves the grace to be where we are and for that to be okay if we want to do something different. And I remember, my dear friend, Catherine Finney, telling me like, it's okay to move past something. It's okay to outgrow something. And as I sat in my office thinking about that, I thought, what's important to me? And it was really this notion of smart people, right? I don't ever want to be in business without smart people with the team. I don't ever want to be on my own. And trust, trust is an important thing in business. And it's easy to kind of be in a situation where our trust, our faith, our integrity is tested on the regular. And I said, I don't want to be in a situation like that again. And so I said, brain trust, smart people that I trust. And that was how I came up with the name, that I always want to be in a collective group of people that I trust to do what they say and say what they do.
Right.
And that was the birth of Brain Trust. And literally it was me saying, I love what we're doing with talent and bloggers, but I really want to get back to working with brands and storytelling. And, I didn't always agree. Anytime you're in a relationship, whether it's a co-founder, a partner, a child, you don't always agree. And so for me, it was, let me go and do something else that I believe in. And so Brain Trust started. We were very fortunate. We had Blushington and Halle Berry as our first clients.
Which is so crazy. I mean, like, of all the people, like, hey, who's your business partner? Oh, this person. Who's your business partner? Oh, this person. Who's your business partner? Oh, Halle Berry. Like, seriously? I mean, like, it's a little bit of a humble brag. You're like at lunch with your friend and you're like, oh, gosh, Halle just keeps calling me about this makeup. Just give me a second. Like, seriously?
Like, hold on, I'll do that. But what's funny is, like, you don't even think of the magnitude of it. Like, I'm here starting a new agency. And it's interesting because when I started DBA, I was married, but I lived in New York. We didn't own anything. We didn't have children. And then to start my second business, literally on the heels of coming back from maternity leave, buying a home. My husband has a very, very, very intense job as well. And so it was different. It's been a different experience. And I think that those are the ebbs and flows of, being an entrepreneur and a founder. But what I will say is that the lessons along the way, tenacity, grit, focus, we're going to have our highs, we're going to have our lows, but we're going to keep going. And as I started to think about the work we were doing at Brain Trust and everything that I was being surrounded by, which was founders. I was a shareholder in BeautyCon. I'm literally like in the beauty industry, seeing it from all different facets. And when COVID hit, it was this moment of us in the beauty and wellness industry coming together to help each other. People who you wouldn't even see showing up to provide support. And It was all about community. And as we know, Black founders were the hardest hit. The majority of Black entrepreneurs only had 2 to 3 months runway. And
that's right. If that.
Think about the fact that there were more Black founded businesses in the last year than in history, but more Black businesses did not make it through COVID. I was like, this is crazy.
Right. And it's really too, if you look at it, I mean, I juxtapose that statistic with the statistic of we're spending more money, 1.6, $1.7 trillion. We spend the most money and we're losing ownership. We're worth less and we're spending more. So it's this constant, like, paradoxical, like it doesn't even make sense, right? And we're starting the most businesses and losing the most businesses. It's a constant push and pull in the Black community. So I want to piggyback on this a little bit because you said a lot of things. The first thing I want to tap into is these lessons you've learned, right? Tenacity, grit, perseverance. And I read a couple of your Diary of a Founders, which I think is amazing. And the constant that I see there is faith. You bring everything back to faith. So I want, like, can you talk a little bit about how important that faith is in whether it's a higher power or the people, the smart people you have around you as you're embarking upon this founder kind of thing, right? How do you have faith when you're raising money? How do you raise money for the first time? There are people watching and they're like, I don't know how to raise money, Kendra. How do I raise money? How do I have faith in the fact that I can raise the money? How do I have faith that I have this tenacity?
Faith is so important to me. It is the backbone of everything that I do, that I believe. It's the reason why I exist. And over the years, I've had moments where things get hard and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's too hard. It's because, like, my faith. And I've always had to go back to this notion of fear to faith, because we're going to be scared. It's going to be hard. We're going to be tired. But I go back to my faith that God would not put me here in this moment with this opportunity, being here with you, if I was not going to be successful, if I wasn't going to carry through. And I think about when I think about my faith, it really is rooted in this notion of being of service. And so for me, when I started talking to all of the different founders, what they were going through, my faith was rattled because I was like, wait, we're all going to be successful. We're all going to make it. We really, really are. But it became so much greater than me. It's greater than me. There's only so many conversations I could have as one person. There's so many DMs and emails, and I was falling behind. And I said, we need more people supporting, because it takes a brain trust to actually move forward as a founder, as an entrepreneur, to create economic pathways. We keep talking about generational wealth. It's generational inheritance. We have to have faith in each other that we can do it, but we have to do the work, right? So faith comes from us doing the work, being prepared, showing up. And the reason that I really was so like I had to do Brain Trust Founder Studio was because I realized that we have to have mentorship, education, above all else, community, and it does require capital. And so when it gets hard, when I'm like, should I be doing this? When someone says, nah, I don't think so. Is supporting Black beauty and wellness founders a trend? Should you really be building an entire—
is that a thing? Is that even a thing?
They're like, you've been successful. Are you sure? And I'm like, this is my faith. I believe in my people, my community, and I know what I see. And so I'm so happy that you noticed that, because it's really important to me that people understand that I am a child of God and that I'm rooted in my faith, and that that's what keeps me going. Because as we all know, there's the moments where you just want to crawl up and be like, oh, I'm not done. I'm going to get this job. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Right.
I think about the founders and our mission. And I've heard so many, I've heard people say like over mentored and undercapitalized.
Oh,
and
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
I think that it's the ecosystem. What I have found is that I have founders who say that, but then when we dig into the numbers, the business, the returns, what type of capital, why, how much are you giving up? And then when you have it to deliver that return, what resources do you need and what does that investment do?
Right.
And I say the mentorship and the education is to make us all better. I started this year with what are the things that I need to learn to be a better leader, to be a better person, to do my job better. The space is moving so fast. There's so many forms of differentiated capital that we could look at, that we have to be mentored. We have to continue our education so that we can make the best decision as leaders to move our businesses and our teams forward.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, we hear that a lot. And I can see both sides of the scale, right? I mean, everybody's got a mentor. Everybody's not stroking a check, right? Yes. And to your point, like it takes money, and congratulations, $100 million that you've been able to raise for Founder Studio. That's so if you could give that, it's astounding to me. Okay. I mean, I haven't raised $100 million and my business is not $100 million. I mean, we do all right. And there are days when I want to crawl up in the corner and like, I'm not doing this anymore. I literally told my CFO last week, I give up. I'm not doing it. I can't anymore, And so, but how do you, like, if you had to give a step by step for people who want to raise $1 million, $3 million, what are the steps they take to do that could set them on the path to eventually, this VC and this PE money?
Yeah. And I want to clarify. So we raised 100 million in services for the studio, for the founders through our corporate partners. And the reason I clarify is because we actually are launching Brain Trust Fund to invest in the founders. So it's an interesting thing when we think about capital and we think about fundraising. When we launched the studio, it was very important to me that we were able to have resources from corporate organizations who had made commitments, because the studio has to be underwritten by, of course, corporate partners. And so we set out, we went to JP Morgan, Shopify, Afterpay, Clearco, Salesforce, and She Media, our partners. And we said, this is what we want to do. You've made these commitments. How do you put services into our founders? Because we recognized that for some of our founders, understanding finances, financial literacy were things that they didn't have access to. When we did a survey and poll, it's literally access and networking are the biggest things that founders lack when trying to raise money and when they're trying to build their businesses. And we all know the power of a network and how we have to have that. And so we set out to make sure that we're not just building a platform, but we're building a platform with services that our founders can tap into. So even with Shopify, we're working with Shopify for startups. You get 6 months free that Shopify has offset. There's a program manager to look at your e-commerce, your website, analyze what you're doing. So it was important that it wasn't just go and build a business and let's talk about it with the mentor, but that you could build a business, you could have a mentor, and then you could actually action it. You don't have to wait in the queue lines to figure out a customer service rep. We have the people right there, and we're going to offset the cost for you to even start your e-commerce or expand your e-commerce so that you can keep doing business. And then what we're doing with the fund, which I'm so excited about because this also speaks to tenacity. When I started this, I said, I want to raise a fund. And people said, wait, you've only raised, 2 million. How are you going to do a fund, especially when there's less than, as we know, 200 Black women who have actually raised more than $1 million. And the stats are staggering of people who have actually, Black people who have actually taken their business to $1 million. So in my head, I'm like, but I've done it. I'm part of this group. I can raise. But then on the other side, I was like, maybe I shouldn't do a fund. And it was really my co-founder who has joined me, and we started talking, and we've known each other for 20 years and her background and all that she's done with her exits and her funds. And we were like, we are building a fund. It's the only way. If we're going to mentor and educate, then we have to have capital to put back in so that all of that work can now be expanded with the support of raising money.
And so, to be able to have that money to pour back into the businesses, right? Because that's what the fund is. This is for other businesses, not just your own. And just to clarify too, Kendra, I want to make sure that our audience is following.
Yeah.
Would you consider Founders Studio would you consider that an incubator or an accelerator, or is it like a hybrid kind of, as compared to like what Brain Trust is?
So that's a great point of distinction. Thank you. So Brain Trust, the agency still exists. So Brain Trust is an agency, social media, brand development, influencer marketing. Brain Trust Founders Studio was really born out of the work and the relationships that we've had, having an agency for 6 years. And so Brain Trust Founders Studio is a membership-based platform for Black beauty and wellness founders. And we have 3 tiers of membership. So start, as we talked about, our founders who are starting out, trying to determine their business model, their needs, even their corporate filings. We have our grow tier, which is I have my products in market. I know my consumer. I'm generating revenue. I'm ready to grow. I may be e-commerce, I may be dipping into retail, or I may be in retail and I'm trying to expand. And then our accelerate tier is really focused on those who have either raised their first round, looking to get into, they've raised friends and family, they're looking to get into Series A, B. That's where our fund comes in and invest. And then we also work with other funds. There's a lot of amazing people funding businesses, doing great work. And so we partner with them for follow-on capital. So it really is, it's interesting, the incubator, the accelerator, we have characteristics of them. Yeah. I think where we see ourselves differentiated is that you can come in at any stage of your business. We do not take equity in exchange for the services. We're membership based.
And so they pay the membership fee to come in. Got it. Okay.
Exactly. And so that's really, that's the difference whenever you look at it. And also from a cohort perspective, we have an amazing group of founders, and we assess and figure out what do you need in your business so that we can help guide them through our knowledge salon, which has all of the resources. But the goal is that we want to meet you wherever you are. And it was really important that we didn't leave founders behind on their journey. Right. But I'm also of the notion that, you have to meet us in the middle. We're going to lay everything out. But the same with anything that you do, it really is what you put into it. And so we want to make sure that we are true partners and collaborators on both sides from the founders in the studio.
Got it. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. That makes complete sense now. And real quick, we've got the questions are rolling in now, which is great. I always say I need 5 hours with every guest, right?
Michelle, you're great. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I'm not, you're doing all the talking. I'm just asking questions, friend. Um, okay, so real quick before we get into these questions, I know we'd like to kind of wrap by 5 after the hour, but um you mentioned in a lot of your press that you've done this bias that absolutely exists and how tough it is and lack of resources and like this inaccessibility for Black founders, especially Black female founders, right? So I just, as we move kind of into our questions, I just want you to talk about, as a Black woman, what does that bias feel like? Can you give us examples of that so that people in your position or that were in your position you used to be in, right, when you're starting out, know what that looks like and how do they overcome? Like, what's the biggest, the easiest way for them to kind of just move past that and keep pushing?
You know, I really think that it's about educating ourselves, knowing our business, knowing our numbers. On my podcast, Business of the Beat, I was talking to one of our guests about this, and she was saying how the difference for her was that she knew her business, she studied, she practiced. And I think that that's what I have found. Like, we always have to be prepared, we always have to
Mhm.
be better and push harder. And I've seen it throughout my career. And I really hope that with these next generations that we can walk in and we don't have to prove so much. I still find myself walking into the room and people not acknowledging that I'm the speaker. I'm the, I'm the leader of the
You're
of the
like,
group.
oh, who are you here to see? You're
It's
like,
like
you're here to
that's
see me, friend.
and I remember that from the early days of my career, like being in the boardroom and always like, the majority of the time being the only Black person,
Yeah.
and then being a woman, and then literally I'm female and having a baby face, and literally, like people walking in and asking me for water, for coffee. And then as I start presenting, I can see the look where they're like, oh, and so it's always taught me you have to be prepared. You
Yeah.
have to know your business inside and out. And that goes to the brain trust because I have an MBA. That doesn't mean I'm a finance major. That doesn't mean that
Right.
I'm sitting here doing financial models, but I do need to be able to talk through my business, what it means, what are the returns, unit economics. And that's really where I think for us as women, like we know our stuff, we know how to communicate, we know how to nurture a room. And so bringing that and overcoming it and having the confidence to walk in and say, I'm supposed to be here.
Mm.
And that for me, like, it was hard for me to even be able to say, this is what I'm good at until I started DBA. And in
Mm.
that moment with my co-founder, she was always just like so confident, so spunky. And I knew I was good, but I had never really like said, oh, and I'm good at this. And
Right.
saying I'm good at this, when you prophesize, when you manifest, it helps
Right.
carry you in times where there's doubt and fear. So know your
Yep.
business, know your stuff, be confident, know that you are in the room for a purpose and you have to claim that purpose and move into that purpose so that people will join you and align in your vision.
I love everything you're saying is exactly like what I believe and stand for and just bleed. And it's what everybody that's significant says. Everybody says the same thing. It's not rocket science, right? I mean, the people who are significant and who've made significant impacts, like you all do the same thing, right? You all do the same things. And it's just, I love that. Know your numbers, be confident, know that you're the expert. You are the expert when you walk in and be confident in that. Okay, we're gonna do like a lightning round of these questions. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a couple questions. Let's see how quickly you can get the answers out, Kendra. And if you do it well, you'll get a new founder for your, for founders, founder studio. Okay. The first one comes from our Radivision audience. How does your community inspire you?
Oh, oh my gosh. Well, aside from wanting to start a new business every single day, um, I'm inspired by the support of each other. Like
Mm,
we're in Slack and we're sharing, and it's hard work. And the founders, they show up, they're juggling. We have one founder who has 4 children, is working full time, just wrote a
mm,
book. Like it is the tenacity that makes you say, if you're going to show up, I'm going to show up for you, and we're going to be here together. And that's what really inspires me.
I love that. Hold on a second. Hallie's calling me. I think she, oh yeah, she's right here. Yeah. Can she call you back, Hallie? We're kind of in a, gosh, Halle Berry is such a, gosh. Okay. The next question is, tell us the recipe to becoming a 3-time entrepreneur.
Oh, fearless. I think I'm just like, I am a glass half full all the time. I love starting and building things. And what I love about the Founder Studio is that I get to be part of helping build so many companies that are going to shape the future and change the industry. And so that's really, it's like, I love it. Like, I love it. I know that I'm good at supporting, building businesses, and really being of service again to just help the founders move forward. But it is, when you think about, when we get back on the phone in 2 years, 3 years, the founders and what they will have accomplished, how the businesses will have grown, how the beauty and wellness industry will go from 3% BIPOC to, 15%, 20%, 50%. Like, that is, it's amazing and phenomenal to be part of.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. What's the one thing you do every day to be successful?
Oh my gosh, I go in the sun. So I believe I have green tea, an 8 green tablet, a lemon, and Dr. Nigma's vitamin C. And I literally believe that within 2 hours of waking, you have to be outside. And I know I live in LA, so we're all not fortunate to have the sun, but even just stepping outside, taking a deep breath, for me, it's prayer, whatever it is that just gets you going every day. And I can see it. If I wake up and I'm a little, as soon as I step out and get fresh air and breathe, it is calming. And even throughout the day, as we're hustling from here to there, I just have to take a second, deep breath, and sun and air.
Yeah. And we all know sun is vitamin D, and vitamin D is the God's secret mineral. That is what keeps us healthy and build our immune system. Tip for you guys there. Yeah. Vitamin D, we need it. It comes right
Michelle's
from
like, for everyone, vitamin D.
Vitamin D, friends, and it comes right from the sun. Okay. What's your best advice for someone who wants to break into the industry?
I think that it's really figuring out your point of view, because it's interesting. There's always going to be multiple skincare products, multiple laundry detergents. Like, there always is. And that's why I love working with founders. What's your point of view? What makes you special? What's going to differentiate your product, and making sure that it works? Like, that's what we have learned. It's got to work. You can have the best story, but it's got to work. So I'm all about, what's your point of view? Why do you exist? Why are you different? Why do people care? Why, as a founder, are you uniquely positioned to do this? Write it down, map it out, pros and cons, go back and forth with yourself, have a small brain trust of people that you can test it, because sometimes our friends and family and colleagues don't always know. So you have to pressure test it, but you have to balance that. And then once you figure all of that out, your point of view, who you are, why you exist, why you're different, as you get into your product, the most important thing is that it does what it says and that it works. And if there's pieces of that don't deliver, go back to the lab, redo it again, or shift your product, because those two things to me are the holy grail of success.
The great pivots, right? The great pivot. Guys, Kendra Bracken Ferguson. That is a mouthful of alliteration, I think. Just all these consonants. Thank you so much. Founder of Brain Trust, the branding agency, marketing, amazing. Brain Trust Founders Studio for wellness and beauty founders. She is here for all of it. She wants all the smoke. If you have any interest in being involved with her and what she's doing and building other founders, Kendra, tell them how they find you and how they support the cause.
Absolutely. So it's braintrustfoundersstudio.com. You can also find me at Kendra Bracken Ferguson and also at the Brain Trust, but we'll make sure that you have it. But Brain Trust Founders Studio, supporting Black beauty and wellness founders so that we can create generational inheritance and we can increase economic opportunities. So we hope that you join us and that we can work together to build the next generation of the highest performing, most successful and sustainable beauty and wellness brands.
She clearly is in PR because she has got this pitch down, friend. It is down. You have a special hashtag you want to throw out there too, right?
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. My social team's like, get this right. It is BT. It is now I'm all discombobulated. So you can do BTFS, Brain Trust Founders Studio, hashtag Brain Trust Founders Studio, or you can just do hashtag Brain Trust. I mean, you'll find us either way. And I have to say, Michelle, one thing that I tell all founders and entrepreneurs, my mantra is carpe diem. And I think that we have to seize the day. We can get so caught up in our ideas that we never launch. So I say to founders, you can launch, you can always try again if it doesn't work. You and I have had multiple iterations of our careers. Carpe diem, get out there, do it. We don't want to have regrets that we didn't try it. And we can always do something else, do it again, but we have to keep going and keep trying.
Absolutely. I think we're sisters. We got to be related because you are in my brain constantly. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I enjoyed this conversation. I hope that this was your best conversation you've ever had. It was just amazing for you. And guys, thank you so much for joining in another episode of Black is the New Green. I'm Michelle Taylor Willis, and a huge thank you to you and to our guest, Kendra Bracken Ferguson. If you've got friends that couldn't be here with us today, go to radivision.com. You can put it on while you're driving or running or doing whatever. There's no excuse for you not to be inspired. We are Black is the New Green, the community for you to thrive and hear and share amazing stories, our stories. We can feed off of this energy, whether it's Black History Month or Women's History Month or whatever, but it's our community. We are the unsung heroes, and we are singing now. We put it all out there. We risk it all to get a shot at building a company. And guess what? You can too. I'm Michelle Taylor Willis, at Michelle Taylor Willis on just about everything. And we'll see you next week right here at 12:30 Eastern Time on Black is the New Green. See you guys.
I don't want to waste your time. I want to take you to a place of mine and maybe talk about the universe. Or maybe we can watch some television. I'm hella with it. Just let me know I'm available. I know you got a schedule, probably on the grind. I just think that you incredible, baby. You know you fine. West Coast. I don't want to waste your time. I want to take you to a place of mine and roll another, bring some music. We can drink some wine. And when we wake up in the morning, we can press rewind and talk about it if you want to. Baby, it's all on you.